You can always get a degree because you're intelligent, but a degree doesn't mean that's your passion and that's what you do. You must look at how you are made up. And so the talent is the things that you naturally have. Now, people that are really smart, they understand their talents and they go into areas of study that actually leverage their talent and their academic, and therefore they become the best at that because they have it naturally. So I had a natural love for science, but that wasn't my gifting. You know, sometimes parents put before you their dreams and not necessarily look at the talents that's in the child and then say, hey, I see this talent. Leadership is simplified in two areas to be a good leader. Can you inspire people to go a direction that you need them to go? And can you build a relationship with them? It's simple. You think about it. If I'm a leader, can I get you to get up right now out of your seats and go over there when you don't want to? But if I can inspire you.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Deep Dive Show. My name is Mphomo Tauriro. Our goal with the show is to bring you and I in proximity to the people and ideas that will show us that it is possible and it can be done, and eventually help us achieve on our dreams and on our goals. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest. This man is the Country Director of Global Leadership Network Botswana. He is also the MD of Pacific Institute of Botswana. This is an organization that has worked with about 60% of Fortune 1000 companies in the areas of human capital management and organizational development. He also comes with 15 years experience from the United States and from South Africa, and adding to his current position, working in sales, marketing, and corporate management. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, help me welcome to the show today, Mr. Wendell Allmon.
Wow. That's the best introduction I ever had. Thank you.
Thank you so much. But there was so much. I had to actually cut out a lot of, because I was like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to say all these things in just that short time. But thank you for coming through, Mr. Allmon. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
My pleasure as well.
Yes, sir. All right. To kick things off, I think a very, very good place to start would be just kindly walk us through your journey, your background, in about 2 minutes, where you started and where you are today.
Okay. Like so many people, your parents have a dream for you. And so on my 10th birthday, my mother bought me a microscope because she's always liked science. And I was fascinated by that. I started to go to the creeks behind my house, get some water, look at it under the microscope and see something moving around. So I had a natural love for science, but that wasn't my gifting. Sometimes parents put before you their dreams and not necessarily look at the talents that's in the child and then say, hey, I see this talent. So even though my mother was gearing me toward science, and that's what I ended up doing, I became a medical technologist, and I went on, I wanted to go to medical school, and that got derailed a bit. But science has been everything through school. It was always science and math. But then along the way, when I look back at my life, I can see the business side of me coming through because I bought my first car at 19. And I had a business from 14. I used to cut grass. That's all I did. I looked at in my neighborhood, there was about 5 guys cutting grass. I said, if I get up early, if I knock on more doors, I have more business. And sure enough, that's what happened. I had a monopoly in two blocks around.
You did this alone? Or you had guys come through?
No, me. Because all it took to cut the grass, all you needed was a lawnmower. And you just needed a work ethic. And that's what I did. And so I was cutting grass and I saved up enough money to buy a car. When my first year at university, I had enough money to buy a car. And I did that. And I told my son that now he's doing university and he wants to buy a car. I said, no, you're there to study, son, not buy a car.
Yeah.
But so there was also inklings of that business side of me, but it wasn't being developed or nurtured. Science was where I was going. So I got my degree in science and all that. And I became a microbiologist. I also ran a laboratory. I dealt in blood bank, chemistry, and immunology. All of this is some of the people are looking that know me. They're like, I didn't know that side of you. But while I was there, when the sales reps came in that was selling these $1 million instruments, I was in the U.S., I used to talk to them all the time, and I chatted them up, and they used to say, man, you know a lot. You ever thought about coming over to this side? I said, well, I never thought about that. That's business. I've always been into the science. And so I got my first job with EI DuPont, and they had a nice program for minority students.
How old were you by this time?
I was about 24 years old. I had a expense account, had a car, had a laptop, and about $10,000 a month to spend on my clients. So, it was kind of nice. And went there, and long story short, eventually I realized that business was really my talent. And I'll say that to young people out there. You can always get a degree because you're intelligent, you're smart, you can do the work. But a degree doesn't mean that's your passion and that's what you do. You must look at how you are made up. Your brain is like a fingerprint. No two brains are the same. And so the talent is the things that you naturally have. Now, people that are really smart, they understand their talents and they go into areas of study that actually leverage their talent and their academic. And therefore, they become the best at that because they have it naturally. It's like friends, they are mechanics, but they never went to mechanic school. They know how to work on things. They know how to fix things. That's a talent. So do pay attention to your talent. Don't just look at academic degrees. Because what you find out that most people, the first degree is not where you end up. Most people have one first degree and they end up doing something else. Like me,
Yeah.
My first degree was science, and now I'm into business. So
They say the first degree is for the parents.
Yeah. Hey.
And then the second one is now yours. Now you're not doing your thing.
But see, a smart parent, like what I do, I study my children. I knew exactly where they. Well, my son, that's right now at University of Michigan, Western Michigan University. He was an artist. He won art degrees at Lehigh. Art competition. And we were trying to figure out what else was there. We couldn't until we went to visit his brother in Houston, and we took him to the Johnson Space Center. There, he now they had some computer simulated programs where you actually build an airplane, and then based on the specs that you gave the airplane, you fly it and compete against other airplanes. When he left, his airplane was the third best ever built there. And I didn't even know that. And
ever?
He third best. And he said to me, Dad, I think I want to go into engineering. All during Lehigh, everything was all art. Now he's doing aerospace engineering and he's excelling in it. That's the reason parents must pay attention to what their children love, what they're good at, what they're passionate. Wait for it. And then just guide them. We're there to guide, not to tell them what to do, but to guide them. Yes.
Beautiful. So, okay. That's a lot that you've talked about, but I wanted us to unpack also how you got to these positions you are in. You're in so many leadership positions as we speak. So I wanted us to start before 09 and then after 09.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, really coming to this continent, coming to Africa was a really big step for me. I landed December 13th, 2001, just after the
9/11.
9/11. Yeah, I went to visit my sister in New York. As I flew over New York, there was this big hole in the ground, and it was ground zero. And as I went through, I went to visit her October 31st for Halloween. She was having some party and whatnot, but you could still smell the stench in the air. How it was just a horrible thing. And then a couple months later, I'm flying to Botswana because I married a Botswana. And she was educated in the U.S., but there were some challenges around her getting a job in the U.S. So we decided to go to Botswana. And what we were told, 2 years in her home country and then coming back, she'll be able to work. So it was a sacrifice on my part as the husband to do that. But she, love makes you do crazy stuff sometimes. It really does.
Yeah.
So after that, after 2 years, it was time to come back. But I wasn't in a position to come back because coming here, I left a good job there, and they told me they were going to expand into Africa. And I get here, and then they called me and said, no, we decided to change our mind. So I was without work for about a year and a half, and that was difficult.
And you were newly married by then?
Yeah, we were married. Yeah. We were married in the U.S.
You were newly married?
Yes, newly married. Yes. So there's a lot of new things going on, but now coming to a new country, all of that was just something I never expected. But I'll say this, Africa is the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't look back on it at all because it opened up my mind. You know, I had a certain way of thinking and I was narrow-minded, but this has opened up the horizon, the ability for that I can do anything I want. I didn't get that in the U.S. because I was really, how can you say, conditioned to go to the hospital, do this, do that, laboratory. I really wasn't looking outside of what I could do. But coming to Africa and not having a job for a year and a half made me think differently.
I wanted to talk to you about this. I think initially, when researching you, I had not thought about this, but there's a subject that comes a lot as we research and we learn about other people and their cultures. Because I know in America that it's like there's this thing where it's like a lot of black guys or African American guys. For you to actually make it out there, a lot of them either go through drugs or sports, or I forgot the third one, you know. And you went into academia, and you went to academia like that. I wanted you to speak on that, and on the path that led you to academia and you actually coming to this place. Yeah, because they talk a lot about a lot of the African American guys. It's just those paths. It's like it's being a rapper. It's either being a rapper or being getting into drugs or getting into sports. They don't talk much about like academia.
Yeah, and it depends on really how you are raised. My mother was not educated, but one of the things she said to me, she said, the one thing I'm going to drill in you is the value of education. And coming from her family where I had 10 uncles and aunties, most of them were into drugs. They were living the ghetto life. You know, my mother said, no, we're taking you out of that. We moved to a suburban area. And so that, you know, of course the family is talking, you think you're better than us, but it wasn't about that. My mother did not want me to get into the trappings of what's there. So education I valued all the time. And so when you hang with people that value education and you start to surround yourself with like-minded people, you start to understand what you can cause in life. So, you know, it wasn't long before I met my wife and we, you know, when we decided to come to Botswana, we said, let's see what opportunities are there. So I landed a job here in Botswana with Eli Lilly. It was funny. While I was in the U.S., I worked for two French companies. I came to Botswana and worked for an American company because Eli Lilly is an American company. And that was my first job. And I did sales rep, basically selling pharmaceuticals, drugs, Prozac and Cialis. Some people may know some of these drugs there. I did so well in Botswana. In 2005, I won Sales Rep of the Year. And I was competing against South Africans and people from all over the southern part of Africa. So what they did, they gave my wife and I all expense paid trip to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. We stayed at a 5-star hotel. They wined and dined us. And so this was that aspect. I was now getting into business. Then eventually they promoted me into become a product manager. And my boss, he negotiated a deal with Hitachi, the Japanese company, you know them. And so we were able to negotiate to bring new technology into Africa that was no other place in the world. So they didn't have it in the US, they didn't have it in Europe. So that was a real feather in our cap that we were bringing new technology in. So there was a little analyzer that we could take to the rural areas. One of the problems that they were facing in South Africa at the time was that people in the rural areas did not get good health care. So when you know, they take your blood and then your blood has to be transported from this little village all the way into Johannesburg or Durban. About the time it gets there, the blood has been compromised, the heat and whatnot. So the test results are not good. Test results for your heart, your liver, your head, HIV tests, all of those things. So people in rural areas were not getting good service. This little analyzer you put in a small place, you didn't need a 4-year degree to operate it. Anybody off the street could actually run this. And then you could run right on the spot. You could do liver enzymes, kidney enzymes, heart, brain, HIV, all types of tests you wanted to do, kind of electrolytes, right there on the spot. In 20 minutes, the doctors had the results and could treat the patient right there in the rural area. We had about a 400 million rand ceiling on the business plan. Everything was going good. I was a product manager. I was going back and forth to Japan. And then 2009, you mentioned 2009, the financial crisis hit. And what was at first a victory for us that we had technology before the US and before
Europe.
Europe became the thing that hurt us now, because now Hitachi looked at the global market and said, because of the recession going on, we're going to pull back and we're going to pull our support from Africa. And so when they did that, I lost my job. I was retrenched. And I want people to know that sometimes the things that seem to be a bad thing can be a blessing. And so it wasn't long after that I was introduced to the Pacific Institute. And then I actually joined them in Johannesburg. How we get back to Botswana, they were looking at that. They were also going through a financial crisis. They said, listen, why don't you start a business in Botswana? We don't have a Pacific Institute in Botswana. So then they gave me the opportunity to start my own business. So my wife and I, we moved back to Botswana in 2010.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Let those happen, because we won't be here having this conversation. So I want you to walk us through, now let's talk about leadership.
Okay.
How do you define leadership, and what is leadership to you?
To me, I've read lots of leadership books, and I know you have too. And whether you like John Maxwell's or if you look at T.D. Jakes, he comes from both a spiritual and business standpoint. To me, leadership is simplified in two areas to be a good leader. No matter how many books you've read, can you inspire people to go a direction that you need them to go, and can you build a relationship with them?
As simple as that.
It's simple. You think about it. If I'm a leader, can I get you to get up right now out of your seats and go over there when you don't want to? But if I can inspire you, if I can give you a reason to do that and give you a direction, why is it beneficial for you to be over there? Then that's great. But what if I don't build a relationship with you? So it's also about building a relationship, because a lot of times great leaders are not the ones that have the position and authority. It's the ones that build relationship with people. Because for longevity, a leader has to be able to build authentic relationships with people.
Yeah, it's all about the people.
Giving direction and building relationship.
Because I also want you to kind of demystify it from a manager versus a leader, right? Because a manager probably is, you work for a manager because you have to. And then probably for a leader, you work for a leader because you want to, right? What do you think about that in terms of being a manager and a leader?
Well, a manager is focused on getting a certain outcome. A leader is above the outcome and saying, where are we going in terms of what impact do we want to make? So a leader is always looking at, how can I impact people? How can I impact my environment? How can I impact this nation in terms of what we're doing? So leaders are always looking at the why. Managers are looking at the how. How do you do it? Yeah. And so to be a good manager, you still have to build a relationship with people, but you're dealing with the how, giving people, we need to do this. This is the function that we have. We need to do this. How do I do that? You help them in the how. A leader answers the why. And when you can answer the why, then you can let them go and be wherever they want to be, because they understand the bigger picture. And that's where the Global Leadership Network comes in, and who we are. We deal with the why.
Awesome. We're going to pause here for a break. We'll be back with Mr. Wendell Allmon. Back, everybody. We're here in the Deep Dive Show with Mr. Allmon. And now we're getting into rapid fire. And if you have found any value in this episode up to this point, definitely drop a like and comment below on your biggest takeaway, and definitely subscribe to the channel. Mr. A, question number 1 on rapid fire. I want you to assemble your your top 5 Avengers of leaders. Like your top 5. Can be anything. Top 5 Avengers of leaders. In terms of the best leaders you've ever been around or you've known. Top 5.
Wow, top 5 leaders. Well, one, you guys wouldn't know, it was my first boss. Remember when I left the hospital, I went into corporate? There's a guy named David Kerr. To me, he had the humility of a great leader. So number one, humility is very important. This guy was making 6 digits income. Now DuPont was I think a $20 billion company. And the portion that he ran was worth about $800 million. And this guy was my boss, and I had maybe the Midwest part. I had about 5 states in the U.S. And, each state, each hospital worth so many millions and all of that. So I'm just trying to give you an understanding of his worth. But what he used to do, and I on Thursday evenings, he went to a homeless shelter and he used to clean bathrooms. And I said to myself, but this guy is where I want to be. This guy is a mentor to me because that was my first corporate job. So I need someone to mentor me. And I was always impressed with his humility.
I mean, he could hire people to do the work.
Yeah. But he knew there was a lesson. And that's what I like to say to young people. Don't take the shortcuts because you missed the lessons in life. And those lessons can be the building blocks to your character as you move forward.
All right.
So humility was number one. In terms of
who else are some of those? Like the remaining 4.
Okay.
Yeah. The leaders that you look up to.
Okay. Barack Obama was one of them. I remember I think it was 2016, was it? No, it was 2012, I think, when he was elected. And it was in the middle of the night. And my son came into the room and he saw tears in my eyes. And he saw me weeping. And he said, "Daddy, why are you weeping?" I said, "Because I never thought a black man could be elected president of the United States." And remember, his motto was very simple. It was an affirmation. Yes, we can. The power of affirmations, Obama showed the world just that. And he believed it. And I read his book and all of that and the challenges. And so to me, Barack Obama is a image of how they say the audacity of hope. Hope. I like a leader that has the definition of toughness. What is the definition of toughness? From my standpoint, toughness is not the big muscles. Toughness is not the one that has the biggest bank account and can do this and do that. Toughness is when you can hold on to a picture despite the current reality you're living in. So you see, let me bring it home so people understand. Nelson Mandela, he was tough. Why? Why on Robben Island for 27 years, what picture did he have? Well, the picture the world wanted him to have was that you locked up and that black people are nothing.
And you're done.
But that wasn't the picture he held on to. His current reality was that. But what picture did he have? The picture is that I am black, I am proud, I am free, I'm intelligent, I'm gonna make a difference. He held on to that picture for 27 years, even though the world told him, don't hold on to that. That's not your reality, until that became a reality. So how long can you hold on to your picture? Because people are telling you you're not gonna do that. People are gonna tell you this doesn't mean anything. But you must hold on to the picture that's in your heart until the point that it becomes a reality. So I think Barack Obama is another one. I like Oprah Winfrey. The reason I like her, because she's compassionate. I see her as a compassionate, authentic person. She was the one that got onto TV and talked about her weight and all that. And she was vulnerable. I think these are all great qualities. In some places, humility, vulnerability, and even being authentic can be seen as a weakness, because sometimes as a leader, you got to keep everything close to you. No, I really believe a leader the best leaders are the ones that inspire people because they are approachable.
Yes.
Yeah. Richard Branson. I like him. Innovation. There's no one to me that is as innovative as Richard Branson. My wife had the pleasure of meeting him when he was here in Botswana a couple of years ago at the Virgin Gym. But the guy, you look at him, he started in records. Some people don't know about Virgin Records.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
He started that Virgin Aircraft, Virgin Gym, now Virgin everything. I mean, now the guy is trying to create commercial flight into space.
Definitely.
So,
and he
so I
managed,
love,
actually. They actually went and they succeeded.
yeah, so I love him for innovation. So how many do I have?
You have the last one left now.
One more.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
And I've said a lot about him
Yes.
just holding on to your dream.
Just hold on to your dream.
Yeah.
All right. The next question we have is, what is your nickname at home or at the office?
They call me Mr. A. Yeah, Mr. A. That's what people
I feel like
call
that's
me.
a cool one though. Is there like one that's, you know, that's loud, that when we hear we don't know about?
Well, growing up, I was called a mad bomber. And that was before terrorists and stuff.
It sounds like a stage name though.
Yeah, actually because I played basketball.
Uh-huh.
And I was really, before Stephen Curry, it was me. I was dropping threes before they had a three-point line.
Yeah.
Because I had a serious range.
Yeah.
And so the reputation was Mad Bomber. And like in our gym,
Oh, yeah.
the gym was so small that right the out of bounds line, the people were there. So like right here, the people would be there. So I used to hit jumpers right at the edge of the out of bounds and hit it and then fall into the audience because I was so good. And I had a big afro, what they call a blowout. And so when I used to move my head like that, my hair used to go like that.
Yeah.
They just loved me. So that was the Mad Bomber. That was just something fun.
All right.
No one here in Botswana knows about that.
All right. All right. So next question or rapid fire is, what one unusual animal that you are afraid of? Yes. Actually, what's one, unusual animal? Because we know that obviously most of us will be afraid of lions and those that would kill us. But like, what's one animal that you're afraid of? Like for me, it's it's the rat. You know?
A what?
A rat.
A rat.
I'm not really afraid of a rat, you know. It's just that it's too fast. Like if it didn't have the speed, I'll be okay. You know, if it like moves slow, I'll be okay. But the problem is it moves so fast, so it kind of like, you know, it throws me off. What's that one for you?
Well, when I got here in 2001, I was afraid of dogs. Because in the US, people got those vicious dogs. They always stay behind the fence and man, they're ready to bite you. They're not like the dogs here.
What do you say to dogs when you like chase them away in the US? Because we know what we say in Botswana. What do you say in the US?
No,
like get away.
No, I was terrified. I used to actually just freeze when a dog was around me. So remember I told you I landed in Botswana December 13th, 2001 at about 2 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, I was over my in-laws' house. And the first thing that happened to me, I got bit by a dog, a poodle. A small little poodle bit me on the ankle.
What?
Yeah, but you know, now being here, I'm not afraid of dogs. There's something different about dogs here. They're all over the place, and but back then that used to be the fear. But right now, I don't have really any animals. You know, snakes, but that's not an animal. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, next question is, if you could ask God one question, what would it be?
I would ask God, why did He do it?
What did He do? Like what He did?
Yeah, what He did when He decided to give His Son in place of me. Why did He do it? I know He loved me, but when you look at the universe, there's 400 billion galaxies. Each got over 200 million stars. I mean, when you start to look at the universe and you say, God, with all of this, why did you even care about us? Yeah, that would be the question. I would ask Him about, why that girl broke up with me in 1999. Why did she break my heart? Things like that. But,
But that's the main one. All right, last question we have on Rapid Fire is, which superpower would you choose between mind reading or invisibility?
Between mind reading and invisibility. I think mind reading. That would be the best.
You like to know what people are thinking when you...
I like for people to be authentic. I don't like to play political games. So if I can read the minds, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, because I think that's when we get the best out of people, when we are real. Some people believe you have to put on a facade.
Yeah.
But I'm just the opposite. When you meet me, and those that know me, I'm very authentic. I want you to know the Wendell, because I want to know who you are. And I believe that's where the relationships are the best. And that's where I can be most impactful as a leader. Because my belief about leadership is that we all are leaders, even though we don't all have the title of leaders. Because leaders have influence. Leaders are able to impact and guide. And we do that every day of our lives, maybe at home, maybe at our churches. We all have influence. We all have the ability to impact another person for good. And when you get a whole community of people that are aware of their leadership, their influence, look how they can impact the world or the community. So that's what I believe. So authenticity is really big in my book.
Awesome. Me too. So this brings us to rapid fire, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We're just gonna carry on. So you talk a lot about leadership, right? I wanted us to come to Global Leadership Network Botswana. Walk us through that, walk us through the work that's being done there, and also walk us through what's happening on December 5th. I think that's very exciting.
Okay. The Global Leadership Network, first of all, is the largest leadership development organization in the world. Every year, we impact over 400,000 leaders around the world. And that's a lot of leaders. Now, when you look at the Global Leadership Network, some of you saying, well, I haven't heard of it. In Botswana, we've been a bit quiet, but that's changing December 5th. But right now, we're in almost all the countries around the world. And if you look at a map of where we are, we're over 90% of the world, we have impacted them. And so it was birthed out of Chicago, 1995. They brought in some of the best speakers in different categories, different areas around the world. And these are people that change, they shift the world because they are the thinkers. You think about the people that are on the cutting edge or whatever, whether it's business, whether it's psychology, whether it's education, whether it's arts, whether it's entrepreneurship. Who are the best of the best? Well, those are the people that come to the Global Leadership Network in Chicago, and they give talks. You know, Simon Sinek on the why.
Yeah,
you know, he was one of our
why.
speakers. I was there in Chicago when Simon Sinek was there.
Wow.
And I love that I heard him face to face. Then they recorded, and what they do, they distribute it to all the different operating entities around the world. And then what we do, we hold a leadership summit here in Botswana, but it's not live, but would you still benefit from hearing Simon Sinek, even though it won't be live. And so what we do, we now customize it culturally for Botswana, and we have some incredible content. For December 5th, it's called Voice Your Vision. And so what we're gonna do, every person has influence and every person has a voice. What is your voice? What is it that you wanna say to the world? And so we're going to really talk about that and how we as Botswana, you know, in terms of this nation, what is it that we want to say to the world? And so leadership is not only about money. I always say money is not a good leader. Money is a good follower. But your passion is the thing that you want to lead you. So what we're trying to do is bring people together around their passion, around their value system, and saying, how can we make Botswana a better place? How can we now make it more relevant? I love what the president is doing. He's saying, listen, we've been consumers for too long. I'm going to force you out of your comfort zone. Some of you are mad at the president, but what he's doing, he's forcing us out of our comfort zone of consuming and saying, now you must produce.
Yes.
He's forcing you every aspect of the way. And now you're saying Botswana is getting innovative. For the first time, I really feel there's innovation happening in this country. People are not just waiting for the diamonds to be discovered.
Yeah, dope. So, Global Leadership Network. I think, you know, just studying about Global Leadership Network, I was so, you know, enthralled looking at the speakers. We had TD Jakes, you have all these other guys that are so good in what they do, you know. I wanted you to also, you know, walk us through, especially December 5th. Walk us through, what will be going on, where will you be, all the good stuff that will be happening on December 5th.
Oh, well, wonderful. We have what we want to do is make it more interactive. So we're going to actually create a platform for different voices of Botswana to be highlighted. So yes, we will have the content coming from the US, some of the best speakers around the world, but we want to actually localize it as well. So we're looking for people that have voices, that have something to say, that are homegrown, and we want to highlight them. So if you know some people, definitely we still got a few slots left. We're going to do that. But then also we want to look at, this is our first event post-pandemic. And right now we've all lost something. Some of us have lost friends. We've lost loved ones. Some of us have lost, or we perceive that we've lost some opportunity. But what I want you to know is that through the loss is like the Chinese, in the Chinese word, the word for disaster is actually opportunity. So when every time when a Chinese person says disaster or catastrophe or something bad, they're actually saying the word opportunity, because behind every situation that happens, there's opportunity. And some people have tapped into that already. They have created markets that wasn't here before the pandemic. So we want to give a voice to all of that. We want to change the thinking a bit and say, yes, we're coming out of this, but where are we? What's your voice? What do you want to say? And so we're going to have a combination of both local and international content, and we will be networking as well. We've gone to many of the leading leaders around Botswana and say, send some of your executives and whatnot. But it's for everybody. It's not just for leaders. Like we said, everybody is a leader. And the sooner we realize that we all have influence, we have something to say, somebody to influence, then that could be a great experience. And when you start the networking, you got positive energy and content that inspires you. It's just there's a buzz to the room.
Definitely. And I love the way you bring, the connection of local and exotic together, because I think to a great degree, there's a level of being able to comprehend in a certain way when it's somebody local talking to you about this, because it's in the context of Botswana. It's in the context of what we're doing here. It's the problems that it's the people that So I think I love that about, the integration that's going on, because the world is now a global village, and we can all come together and inspire each other to a greater future as leaders, So my question for you right now is, you have kids. What I wanted to understand or learn from you is, how are you able to inculcate leadership to your kids? Because I'd like to think it's a bit different from how you do it with people that you work with, leading with people that you work with. Now then, when it's now taken home to your kids, how are you able to inculcate leadership and those skills to your kids?
Very simple. I believe you should model what you want from them. So I never ask my son or my daughter to do something I haven't done. And
that's powerful.
Yeah, and to me that's most important, because I don't want him to follow me or them to follow me because I'm dad. That's my title. I want them to follow me because I've impacted their lives. And to impact a person's life, you have to now build that relationship. We're going back to the key ingredient of leadership. You have to now, to impact, you have to know them. You have to respect them. You have to have mutual respect there. You have to say, even though I'm the father, I do care about what you think. And I'm always asking questions to my children. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Can you try this? And so why am I doing that? Because without them knowing I'm guiding them. And very, very few times with my children is there a have to. I'm always looking for the want to. And so when I get to a situation where we disagree, I still won't tell them what to do. I'll give them a choice. At that point in time, I say, you can either go one or two, but you're going to do one of them. Choose the one you want, and let's walk that journey together. So that's how. So I believe I influence my children through impact, and it's worked well. I don't have any problems right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tying it back to GLN, how is that also, you know, because I think a lot of parents, especially entrepreneurial parents, you know, they would like their kids to engage in the family business. They would like their kids to be a part of what they are doing. But sometimes the kids would not like to go on that path. Sometimes the kids want to carve out their own path. So tying it with GLN and also the lessons you've learned at GLN, how have you able to, you know, maneuver around that? I don't know if you understand my question. Because in the beginning we talked about, you know, if you as a father wanted to be a doctor, but maybe you ended up as a nurse, you're probably going to tell your child, no, study hard so that you can become a doctor. While it's not the path they want to take, right? So how are you able to walk around that? To kind of like, you know, in the sense that it's like success. You can't want it for them, you know?
Yeah.
They have to kind of develop that. And I think I don't know how are you able to develop that thing?
Okay. Let me read something that's from our website on the GLN. I want to read it. It said, we believe it is possible to see a world where communities are transformed through great leadership, where businesses are working for good, churches are thriving, and leaders with grander vision are bringing incredible change. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Part of the mandate of the Global Leadership Network is to create a grander vision for the community that's being impacted. What is a grander vision? Is when leaders are coming together with churches, are coming together with families, and we are saying, we want to do something to impact the place that we live. And when you start to do that, you start to look at incredible projects, bringing the best of the best together on a common cause. And that's what we do. We bring people in from the financial sector, people in from youth, from other places, and they come together and they find out we all have a common problem. And they start now to use their resources and their talents to meet that need. And when you got that, you can just sit back and watch it happen. We're just the catalyst that brings that together. When you come there, you meet someone that you didn't know before, and you find out that where my heart is, his heart is there as well. How can we bring that passion together for the greater good? That's impact, that's influence. And that's what we do. That's really how we ignite communities. And when you look at our website, you go to Grander Vision, just go to Grander Vision and read some of the stories of how communities have been impacted. And right now, I don't know if you have a question about the youth part. Okay, I'll wait for you to get to the youth.
No, you can get into it. Get into it.
So we are starting what we call Next Gen. And I know you came to our one of our events and you know about it, but we're looking now to be the catalyst for youth right now. Because we really believe that in the Singapore model, when you give youth an opportunity, and in Singapore, they allow the youth to actually influence government, and they use youth as advisors to the government. And the ideals that youth came up with is just incredible. They're always ahead of us because they're looking at the future. So we want to give the youth a platform here in Botswana where we say, listen, you got our support. You got all the resources of the GLN in terms of the library of speakers and whatnot and the content. Take this content, because today content is king, right? If you got content, you can make it happen. Take our content, some of the best of the world, the Simon Sinek's and all of that, and make it happen. Just make it happen. So we're excited about the next gen. And we got a couple of them here in the audience today that we're looking forward to that. So we're really looking.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So the other part of the question I had asked you, how are you able to develop that where you can't want it for them, but you can develop it for them? I mean, where you can't want it for them, how are you able to develop that in like your kids?
Yeah, we call it the WIFM. The WIFM is what's in it for me. And once you identify a person's WIFM, then you got their buy-in, their engagement. See. Sometimes kids like my daughter she's not listening. She's 14, but just today, every time I said something, and I said I want you to do, she said no. A daughter naturally says no to her father all the time. Now you got to know your daughter, but I already know. I said so if I want her to do something, I just tell her I don't want her to do it. She actually end up doing it.
Yeah.
So the what's in it for me, you just got to understand that we all, once we understand the value to us, we are engaged, we are motivated. So with children, it's the same way. You just got to know what motivates them. And if you understand what motivates them and then you put it before them and it's their idea, not your idea, guess what they're going to do? They're going to latch onto it. They're going to make it happen. And so, when my son was doing art, I wasn't trying to push him. I said, no, you want to do art? That's fine. But at the same time, I wanted to introduce him to something else because I know that when it comes to creating an economic engine for himself, art was going to be difficult, especially at the level he was. But you talk to him, it was his idea, not mine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My last question to you is, how do you want to be remembered as Mr. Allmon?
Man, do it look like I'm ready for the grave? What's going on, man? How do I want to be remembered? Hey, first time I've had that question.
Yeah.
They tell me that no matter how much money you have, when you're at the end of your life, you don't say, bring all my cars and bring the houses that I have in the U.S. and here and bring all the, you know what they say? They say, bring my wife, bring my children, bring the people that I love. Because at the end of the day, they say that you don't take any of those things with you to the grave. I know the pharaohs, they used to put all their riches in the grave with them, but they say, no, you don't take those things. So my thing is, if people are really what's important, then how do I want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as a person that cared about those in my life, that I was authentic, I was real, I was available. One of the things I quit a job just to tell you how important that is to me. That it's been something that's in me for a long time. That job with DuPont I told you about, expense account. When I had my first son, some things were going on in the family, and I was traveling 4 days out of the week, and my son was just a newborn, and his mother couldn't really take care of him because she was going through postpartum depression. She was suicidal. I quit that job to be with my son. There are some men that would not do that. They would just say, hire a nanny, do this, do that. But to me, it was more important that my son knew I was there than me making money. I said, no, I'll get another job. I'll do something else. But he was that important to me. And that's the way I live my life. I want people to know that I care.
Well said. Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Wendell Allmon. Almost butchered the name. I hope you guys have loved as much as I have, the story that we've gotten here today. And if you have loved it, definitely drop a like, comment below on your biggest takeaway, and definitely subscribe to the channel. As for the information on GLS, as for the information on December 5th, everything will be in the links below so you guys can check it out. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we'll meet same time, same place next week. Be great.